Welcome to the Code with Jason meetup. Today we will again be working on SaturnCI, my continuous integration platform. And bear with me. Excuse me. It's allergy season, so I might be sneezing throughout this video. Um, okay, share screen. Okay, so what I was working on most recently is log streaming. And by the way, Craig, what is your familiarity, if any, with SaturnCI?
Zero.
Zero. Okay. Well, it's a CI platform that I've been working on. It's all it does right now is it'll run your test suite. And so I assume you're familiar with products like CircleCI and GitHub Actions and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah, basically the same thing, except I'm, to be honest, really not a fan of the UIs for CircleCI or GitHub Actions, and I wanted to create something with a more user-friendly UI.
Sounds fair.
Yeah, and so the most recent thing I did, excuse me, if I were a less lazy person, I would edit out all the sneezing and blowing my nose, but I'm not gonna. Um, okay, so last time we were working on these tabs. So previously, there weren't tabs here. It just had job one and job two like in the same pane here. Like you could just scroll down and see job two, and these job one and job two buttons would just scroll you there. But once I added log streaming, it didn't make sense to do that anymore because when you're adding like, okay, by the way, I should back up and explain what job one and job two are all about. Um, your test suite can run in parallel. So it's split into two different jobs. Each one runs roughly half your tests, and each job runs on a separate machine, and so it has its own separate logs and separate test output. So if it's going to show you basically the equivalent of tail dash F on your logs, then the logs are going to continually be added to the bottom. And so it doesn't really make sense, the idea of combining both jobs in one pane. And so I wanted to separate them into two. I don't know if I explained that very well, Craig. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay. Okay. And the most recent problem is that these kind of tabs here don't really look like tabs because they didn't start as tabs, but now they are. But visually, they don't look like tabs. These things up here look like tabs, but these job tabs don't look like tabs. So the next thing to do is to just change these so they look like tabs. So I'm going to do that. I see I have a change here. Okay, I just have a comment. To do next, change these job links into tabs like the other tabs so you know which job you're on. Okay, that's consistent with what I just said. Okay, I'll just take this comment out. All right, so let's see what controls the styling of these. Okay, job menu. All right, apparently there's something called job menu. Um, build.css, okay. Job menu container, job menu. Okay, I think this is maybe what we're interested in. This is the job menu links. I'm going to start by giving them a margin of 0 and see what happens. Okay, that's not exactly. All right, well that's fine. Um, padding, obviously that's gonna, yeah, do that. I want to keep that padding. What's responsible for the margin outside the jobs? I see that job menu has a padding and margin both of 0. Oh, job menu container. Let's change the padding to 0 and see what happens. Okay, that's what I was after. Now, I think we want to make the active job be black so that it matches the color of the background. Right now, I don't think we have the concept of an active job link. What about these links here? I want to be consistent. Okay, so it is using a class called active. Um, let's see how that works. Build navigation. Okay, so that's also in the build show template. Active. Okay. Okay, I have this nav item thing here. Okay, so apparently in this nav item method, we have this conditional that says if the current partial matches the slug for this link, then we give it a class of active. Okay. Okay. So I guess we can do something similar here. First, I'm just going to do like this. I'm just going to give it a class of active hard-coded. And I don't know if that'll actually do anything. Yeah, I'm not surprised that it didn't. I want to create a different active class. Give it a background color of black. Okay, now they're both active, which is obviously not what we want. So I want to make this conditional based on the current tab name. I see this current tab name value here. Um, current tab name. Okay, slug. Where's it getting slug? Okay, text and slug. Okay. Um, let's see. This isn't based on slug. This is based on the order index of the job. Hmm. Okay, and we have like the job ID. Okay, so we have a job ID in the URL. So there must be some concept of the current job, obviously. Excuse me again. So we'll see if the current job matches the job that we're making the link for. Okay. How do we know what the current job is? Um, let's go to the controller for this. Okay, this is the, I don't know if that's what we want. Jobs controller. Okay, maybe it's just the job instance variable. Build show. Okay. Let's do this to make it more clear. Let's say current job. No, maybe I don't like that. Hmm. Hmm. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm not going to do anything there yet. Let's just do the easiest thing that could work. We'll say job equals job, active, otherwise nothing. Okay. Okay, so now if we go back and forth between these, it looks more like a tab. Okay, I think I do want a bit more padding there. Let's maybe make the amount of padding here match the amount of padding here. Um, let's see how we can find that out. Padding 8 pixels and 12 pixels. Okay, let's see how that looks. Okay, now I don't like how these tabs are like pressed right up against this other row here. It makes it not look quite so much like a tab. It looks kind of weird, especially based on the fact that there's only two of them. Um, let's see if we can add some padding in the job menu. So 5 pixels at the top, let's say. That's not enough. 10. Hmm. That looks kind of weird. Let's add some left padding also. Top, right, bottom, left. Okay, I don't love that, but I think it does add to the tab effect. I think there's actually too much vertical padding here. Let's make this 8 pixels also. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. Let's change that to 4. Huh, interesting. Hmm, I think it should be a little more. Let's try 6. Okay. What I don't like now is I feel like there's too much, is there's, let's see, there's not enough contrast between the background of this and this black active tab color. But let's not tackle that quite yet. I'm going to create a new branch called Fix Job Tab Appearance. Again, I'm going to review what we've done so far. Okay, not a lot. I'll say make job tabs look more like tabs. Okay, and I guess I'll push this. Okay, now I want to make this background color a bit lighter. I might even want to just like swap the colors of this job tab and this background here. Okay, so where even was that job menu? It was in build.css. By the way, it feels kind of inappropriate for all this job menu stuff to be in build.css. I think I want to change that. Um, we have a build navigation.css. How about a job navigation.css? Okay. Now, does everything still work? It does. I'm going to commit just that. Um, okay, add job navigation.css. Okay. Um, job navigation, build navigation. Okay. So job menu controller, sorry, container. Let's make that the color that this is right now. So what color is 777. All right, this will be 777. And what used to be 777 will now be 444. Okay, and not surprisingly, this tab color didn't change, but that's okay. Okay, so I like that better for the purposes of the contrast between this black active tab and its background, but now this looks kind of weird. So let's maybe make that a little bit lighter and see how we like that. Okay, so instead of 444, let's try 666. Um, okay, well that's too little contrast. And it's maybe just a touch too satanic also. So let's try 555. Hmm. I guess maybe that's okay. I'm not super happy about it, but we don't need to perfect it just yet. Sometimes with these like design issues, I feel like you have to like sleep on it and then come back the next day when it's fresh. And so you're kind of seeing it for the first time and you can make a better judgment. But something else that I'm pretty sure I want to do is I want to add yet more left padding here. So let's do that. That's too much. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. I don't know. Again, I think it's likely that I'll come back and when I look at this the next time, I will have different feelings about everything. Okay. So something that definitely needs to happen, of course, is this active class needs to get changed to match this. There we go. Hmm. Now I can tell quite clearly that there's not enough top padding here for my liking. So let's change that. Okay. Now I feel like in proportion there needs to be more left padding. Oh, huh. Events is a white background, so that obviously is not going to work. We'll address that later. Um, okay. Well, it definitely helps to have these tabs highlighted. Okay, I'm going to commit what I did just there. I guess all I did was change the colors and a little bit of padding. Okay. Oh, by the way, just realized I need to get ngrok started so my webhooks will work. Okay. Let's see. All right. So I don't feel like I've nearly landed on a place yet where I'm happy with the job tab styling, but it's at least the design is at least functional. You can tell when you're on the job one tab versus the job two tab. And that's the main thing that needed to be accomplished. And so now we can turn our attention to the actual functionality of the log streaming. So I'll show you something, Craig. When, let's see, what do I want to explain? I guess I just want to show you how the log streaming currently behaves. Um, so I just started this build. We're going to have to wait about a minute for anything to start happening. So as long as we're waiting, pardon me while I blow my nose. Okay. Um, one thing just as a side note that I'm not happy with is like when you start a job running, it says nothing here yet. Oh, and by the way, job one and job two are both here, which is weird. Same with test report. Anyway, I don't like that it just says nothing here yet, and you're just sitting there wondering like, well, is anything happening? So I'll have to deal with that at some point. Okay, this is clearly wrong. So when I click on job one, it says job one here. When I click on job two, it also says job one. So that is surprising and wrong. Um, so let's fix that. And also you can see, Craig, that when we look at the bottom here, you can see this most recent one is 132635. If I refresh the page and scroll down, 132650, I'll refresh again, 132656. So you can see that we're getting new logs each time we refresh, but it doesn't update automatically. We have to refresh. And that's obviously not what we ultimately want. So that's the next thing I want to do is get it so the logs stream without having to refresh and make it stick to the bottom to kind of simulate a real terminal. But first, even before that, why does it say job one inside of job two? And we could see we have some test output for job two. Job one is still coming through. So that's kind of nice to see. But again, we have to continually refresh. Okay, so that's done and the test suite has passed. So let's fix some of these bugs here. Test output appears to be fine. Job one, job one, job two, job two. But for system logs, it's job one in both tabs. So let's find out why that may be.
Does it have
I
job
guess,
two at the bottom?
sorry,
Does it have job two at the bottom?
good question. It does. I wonder what about this one? Yep. All right. So apparently it's just showing both of them in both of them. All right. But I'm going to merge this fixed job tab appearance branch because we're not doing that anymore. Okay. Um, oh yeah, system logs. Okay, system logs. Okay, and I'm going to compare this to the test output. Okay, looks a little bit different. Okay, here we're seeing job container, current tab name, job. And here we're iterating through the build.jobs and then doing this. So I think we want to do this instead. All right, so now we have system logs. Uh-oh. Okay, so that seems to fix it. Now, does that make any tests fail? I mentioned before that, ironically, the test suite for the CI platform runs faster locally than it does on the CI platform. That's why I'm running it locally because I don't want to wait. Okay. So apparently I didn't have any tests that covered that part. Um, but I'm okay with that. Okay. Fix system logs output. Okay. Now what about the test report? Yeah, that needs fixing too. Okay. And then events. Yeah, it's a bit different because, well, the events are just different. Okay, let's see. All right. And this header here is kind of redundant now. So let's maybe take that away. But first, let me commit this. Okay. Let's see, application helper, ASCII job heading. Okay. So let's take that away. Okay. Okay, great. Wonderful. Um, take away ASCII job heading. Take away redundant ASCII job heading. Okay. Um, great. So with those bugs fixed, we can now finally turn our attention to making the logs update in real time. Or maybe I should say make the logs update automatically. Um, okay, let's think about how to do that. First, I guess let's think about how these logs work. So I'm going to go back to that system logs page again. Sorry, did I push this to get a test run going? Yeah, okay. System logs. Okay. Job.system logs. Okay. So job.system logs, just thinking out loud here. Job.system logs is a database value which gets continually updated. And if only we continually refresh this part of this page, then we'll get what we need. Okay, so I'm going to go to ChatGPT. I'll ask it, what's a good way to make this part of the page refresh once per second? Yikes. That seems like maybe that's fine. My first thought actually is that I don't really want to slice this up any more than it already is. Maybe I just want to refresh this entire system logs template. Let's see where this is coming from. Um, System logs. Okay, build show. Hmm. Okay. Yeah. So when the current tab name is system logs, then it renders jobs show, and then that renders build show with system logs as the current tab name, build show. Yeah, and here in build details content is where the system logs content shows up. So let's see. Um, hmm. Okay. So all we need in order to show the system logs is the job. That's the one and only thing we need. So I feel like it would be wasteful to get all this stuff again because, again, all we need is the job. Another thing, I don't want to prematurely optimize and stuff, but this will definitely be important before too long. We only want to refresh this system log pane when it's the visible one. Like we don't, if we have like 10 builds here, we don't want to constantly be refreshing or let's say we have 10 concurrently running builds. We don't want to be refreshing the system log for all 10 of those concurrently running builds. That would be extremely wasteful. We only want to refresh for the currently visible one. But continuing to think about that, for me personally, I'm rarely going to have more than one or two, maybe three um, builds running concurrently. So that's not going to be an issue for me anytime soon. So yeah, I think I talked myself out of worrying about that anytime soon. Okay, thinking. So here we want to make it so that whatever the current tab is, it gets refreshed once per second. Render current tab
You
name.
already got Turbo installed in this app,
I do. Yeah, and I'm making heavy use of Turbo.
so you could use like a Turbo Stream or Turbo Frame or something,
Yeah, I
and
know
then it
very
doesn't have
little
to
about that
refresh.
stuff.
Just
What's that?
and then it doesn't have to refresh. It can only just when a new thing's added, it can add it to the stream.
Okay, maybe that's a good suggestion. I have zero experience with that. So I'll have to learn about that. But if that can be simpler than this JavaScript solution, then definitely. Okay, so I'm going to do a tiny refactoring here. Instead of just saying render current job name and let it get current tab name and job like this, I'm going to say this. I'm going to explicitly pass the values that this partial needs. Okay, so nothing changed, but I'm guessing that if I go here, it'll break. Oh, no, surprisingly, it didn't break. Oh, yeah, I see why. Test output, HTML, because current tab name and job, those instance variables still exist. Okay, and I'll explain in a moment why I'm wanting to do this. Okay, and as a test, if I go to here and take off that stuff I just added, now I would expect these pages to break. Yeah. Okay. So this just makes it a bit clearer what is being sent to this partial that's getting rendered. It's sending the current tab name and the current job. And why do I want to do that? I'm actually not sure that I can articulate why. Maybe I don't have a great reason. But just in general, I do like to do this when I render partials. I like to explicitly pass the values because otherwise it's like, well, what goes to this partial? It's a mystery. And then when you're in the partial, if you have like instance variables, it's like, well, where did these come from? But if you it's explicitly pass them, then you can follow them all the way through their life cycle. Okay. And I'm not yet applying that concept super consistently throughout, but as I notice cases and as I'm bothered by them, I will update them. Okay. Um, I don't know. I'm too lazy to come up with a good description right now. I'm just going to say refactoring. Okay. So now build show. I want to make this so it refreshes this partial once per second. And even though this is annoying, I noticed that this really shouldn't be called build show. This should be called jobs show because we're on a specific job. So let's change that. Okay. So if I refresh, I expect an error. Yep. All right, so I'll go to the jobs controller, and this should say jobs show. But this other one still is builds list because that's this thing on the left-hand side, and that is in fact a list of builds. Okay, so let's see if my tests all still pass. Okay, great. Okay, rename builds show to jobs show. Okay. Now, so Craig, your suggestion was to use to use turbo streams perhaps for this?
Yeah, I don't really have that much experience with it myself, so
Mm-hmm.
I can't really walk you through it, but it sounds like exactly the case you want to use.
Okay. Well, I will see if ChatGPT can help. Hmm. Still has all this JavaScript stuff. It feels more complicated than necessary.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to see any JavaScript in the suggestion.
Yeah, well, I guess let's do it the old-fashioned way. Okay. Turbo streams deliver page changes as fragments of HTML wrapped in TurboStream elements. Each stream element specifies an action together with a target ID to declare what should happen to the HTML inside it. These elements can be delivered to the browser synchronously as a classic HTTP response or asynchronously over transports such as WebSockets, SSE, etc. to bring the application alive with updates made by other users or processes. All right, I have zero experience with WebSockets and I don't even know what SSE is. Um, Server side events, just a guess. They can be used to surgically update the DOM after a user action, such as removing an element from a list without reloading the whole page, or to implement real-time capabilities, such as appending a new message to a live conversation as it is sent by a remote user. Okay, these things sound like very close to our use case. Stream messages and actions.
In my brief understanding is you have like a turbo frame, and then that connects to a controller action which has a format of stream or something like that. And then you basically in the controller say replace this element with this new information or append with this new information.
Okay.
But I haven't used it myself, so
Okay. Well, I guess let's figure it out together in this remaining 12 minutes. Um, a turbo stream can integrate with any element in the document that could be resolved by an ID attribute or CSS selector. Okay. Actions with multiple targets. Okay. Streaming from HTTP responses. Reusing server-side templates. Okay. I'm gonna do something different here. Instead of refreshing the logs once per second, how about let's use turbo streams so that, okay, we have an API jobs controller. Yeah. Oh no, this isn't it. System logs controller. Yeah. So that each time this controller action runs, it, I don't know if I'm going to use the right language, but I'm going to say it triggers a turbo stream action and updates um,
you want it to append the partial, don't you?
yeah, maybe not even append, maybe just replace entirely and updates the build details content area of this template. The idea is that this partial should get replaced entirely. Let's see what it does with that idea. Okay. This is maybe looking closer to what we would have expected. Instead of a bunch of nasty JavaScript, we just have these few tags.
Yeah. So I was expecting the TurboStream replace bit and the controller with the format TurboStream, which is what it's showing here. I don't know what the last bit is though.
Okay.
Oh, that's your partial, I think.
Turbo frame tag. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So it's telling us this is the file name. So I will do that. Um, Weird. Oh, that's because this directory doesn't exist, perhaps. That's okay. When I try to save this, yeah, I can't save it because that directory doesn't exist. So let's create that. Okay, now we can save it. Okay. And now let's update this controller. Just going to replace it entirely. Okay. And I think we're going to want to put this in a different place, but that's fine for the moment. Okay, and then we will update this. Okay. Now, I don't want to have to trigger a build and wait like an entire minute before I even get to test a change. Um, so let's see how we can write automated tests for this. Also, I made some kind of error. I think I didn't do the end here. There we go. Okay. How can I write automated tests for this? It's going right to the very beginning.
I wasn't expecting it to do
Hmm. Okay, hang on. Maybe I can actually do a better job of thinking about this than ChatGPT can. So, what we want to assert is that when when this controller action gets invoked, we want to we want to when this controller action gets invoked, we expect to see the system logs to update. Okay. Let me pull up some notes. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second. I accidentally shared a private note last time I did this, so I'm going to try to not make that mistake again. Um, let's see. Okay. Yeah. Oh, no, no, no. I'm in the wrong place. Notebook, SaturnCI. Yeah. Okay. I'll reshare my screen. Okay. So I'll create a new note here. Um, Whoops. It's May 26th. Okay. Um, when, when what? When the system logs API endpoint gets hit, really when the job system logs get updated, when when a job's system logs get updated, we expect on the system logs page to see the updated contents of the logs. I guess it's really as simple as that.
Yeah, you've got two conditions, haven't you? You've got one where you just go to the page and it just has all the logs, and then you have the like live stream of it updating as it goes along.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because not only do we want it to update, but when we visit it for the first time, we do want the log content to be present. Um, okay. So here's maybe how we could let's think about how we could write that test. Visit the system logs page. Um, somehow cause the okay, visit the system logs page for a particular job. Somehow cause that job's system logs to get updated, and then assert that we see the updated contents on the page. I'll add in parentheses without refreshing. Okay. Okay, so I don't know how this is going to go, but I at least know the first couple things that are going to need to happen. Um, I'm going to create a directory called spec system logs, and then inside it, I'll put system for system specs.
I think the
Um,
wording of just the logs updating probably isn't enough because you won't be able to do like job updates and then expect it to change because it's only happening through a turbo stream or if the page loads.
right, so we'll have to figure out a way to do it that invokes that action.
Yeah.
I'll call it streaming spec. Okay, then I'll need to pull up another system spec just to copy the boilerplate from. Scribe streaming. All right. And I like to just even run the test when it's at this state just to make sure I haven't made any mistakes yet. Okay. It streams. I'll change that to something better later. Um, okay. And I want to visit the system log path. Do I have a system log spec already? Yes, but it's a request spec. Okay. Okay. Rails routes rep system. All right. And I see that it's about time to wrap up, so I'll bring us to an end shortly. Um, okay, yeah, it's not the API version that I want.
Isn't it the jobs page you want?
It's this it's this one here. Project builds jobs. Oh yeah, I remember. Um, it's this mouthful of a path here. And maybe I can rename that to something nicer, but I don't want it to get distracted with that right now. Okay. And I'll say job.build.project, job.build, job, and system logs. format that like this. Yeah, I definitely want to come up with something nicer for this because like all we really need to say is job and system logs. All this other stuff can be derived from that. Okay, so I'm gonna like put check boxes here, and I'll even say this: create a job. We're doing that. We're visiting the page. Now we have to somehow cause that system log, job system logs to get updated. But actually, first, let's make sure that this is really doing what I think it is. And I notice that we're not authenticating. And so it's probably, yeah, this isn't showing us the right stuff. So let's authenticate. Um, do I have to do it like this? Let me see. Okay, yeah, let's do this. Yeah, perfect. Oh, I got rid of my binding.pry. Okay, this obviously looks right. Okay, and then here we can put somehow cause the job system, whoops, job system logs to get updated. And then I'll put this too. Yeah. So I don't know how we're gonna do that, but I'm sure we can figure it out somehow. And that seems like a pretty good place to leave it for picking up next time.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, Craig, thanks for joining me. And to your YouTube viewer, thanks for watching. And I'll see you next time.
Yeah.